Welcome to our Learn with Google Hangout on Air that we're calling Real-Time Audience Buying with Google. We are excited to have you here and to share a lot of information about how we do audience buying at Google and how to bid efficiently for these audiences. Now, before we get started, we want to go over a few things just to ensure you get the most out of today's Hangout on Air. If you have any questions during the Hangout on Air, please use the question and answer app, which should be visible on the right-hand side of your screen. And if you can't see the question and answer pane on the right side of your screen, ensure you're watching through the Google Plus event page and not on YouTube. If you're still having trouble, we will hopefully provide a little bit more support for you. And if you have difficulties or technical difficulties with Hangout on Air experience, simply try refreshing the page, and that should work for you. This Hangout on Air will be automatically recorded after the event concludes, so you'll be able to access it on demand at any point. Please feel free to watch it again or share it with anyone who might find it valuable. And lastly, we are always looking for ways to improve this experience, so please take a minute, fill out our feedback survey at the end of today's session. And as an added bonus, anyone who fills out the survey can enter to win a chance for Nexus 7. So my name is Jill Arkin. I am a global product lead here at Google, and with me is Eyal Oren, who's a product manager here at Google. Today we want to talk through the challenge of leveraging big data for marketing and how we're helping you solve that at Google. We'll touch on how you can use dynamic remarketing as a means to cut out the noise and serve the right ad to the right user at the right time. And then we'll go a bit deeper on how Conversion Optimizer helps you manage your bids at scale, just to ensure that you're investing efficiently in these users and in these audiences. We'll wrap up the first half of the Hangout on Air by quickly showing you how you can turn these insights into actions through flexible bid strategies, and then do a walkthrough of the actual implementation process in your AdWords account. Now, in today's world, there is a huge opportunity to connect with target customers, both new and existing, using data. In fact, over 90% of marketers believe that data is one of the biggest drivers of success for their digital campaigns. Data is part of our everyday lives. We generate signals anywhere we go on the web, whether it's through a mobile device, through a tablet, through a desktop. Whenever we interact with a message, explore a site, search a product, we do this on any device, and it leaves a trail of data. As an example, I have been looking to purchase a new Volkswagen, hopefully in better shape than the screenshot you can see here. So I've owned one in the past. I've really enjoyed having it, love the look and feel of it, and it's a big purchase, so I want to make sure I do some research ahead of time, just to make sure that I get the right car for me. I know I want to get a hybrid model, and I know I care about safety. So I start going online and searching for Volkswagen hybrid models. A link to the Volkswagen turbocharged Jetta hybrid model comes up, so I click it and I go to Volkswagen's website and I browse around a little bit. From there, I check a few car review blogs, I read a couple safety tips, go to some user forums, and see what everyone has to say about the car safety. Now, these actions that I take, searching, exploring, checking out blogs, they leave a trail of data for Volkswagen car dealerships to use. And they can leverage this data to make sure they're presenting me with a tailored message. They can send me discounts via email. They can help me engage however they see fit. They're able to understand from my actions that all of this data, all of these data points, are intent to purchase and intent to become one of their customers. So they can take that opportunity, deliver a relevant ad, deliver a precise ad at the right time, and really give me a personalized shopping experience. So what do I mean when I talk about audience signals? It means all of the signals that help marketers understand who I am and what I want to buy. The real breakthrough with all this information collected across the web is the ability to bake precision into your digital marketing campaign. And with that comes improved return on investment. Precision is about going from just broadly identifying and targeting a specific demographic to knowing their preferences, to knowing their previous interactions with your business, their current state of mind, their purchase funnel. And this sophisticated technology allows you precision to get better over time. So running continuous campaigns on the right network will keep you in touch with your best customers, and you want your ads to be relevant, and you want your ads to be useful, and you want your ads to be precise. Now the question when it comes to digital marketing is, how do you use these data insights to deliver that relevant personalized message in real time and at scale? If you think about all the data that's out there, all the data trails, the website visits, it is a lot of data, and it's hard to figure out how to use that data to deliver your creative with just the right message and just the right price. Now, you need to do this thousands and millions of times every single day, depending on the size of your business. And the key is translating this digital marketing from data to precision and scale. We do this automatically for you with real-time audience buying. We help you parse through all of those data signals and actually figure out the right way to serve your ad without you having to invest hours and hours each day. A really good example of this is the dynamic remarketing product at Google. Based on the data you've collected on your audience, you'll be able to serve an automatically optimized ad that showcases the product you want your user to see as they're getting closer to converting. This is a huge contrast to static remarketing. With static remarketing or standard remarketing, you have a static image or a static text ad that you're serving to a wide base of users at any given time. And it's not very tailored, and it's not very creative, and it's not very precise. But with dynamic remarketing, we're integrating data from Google Merchant Center, product data, remarketing data, and we are trying to make sure that we are serving an auto-optimized ad layout with a product that your audience is interested in seeing at that time of day and on that site that they're at. We wouldn't want to serve that generic image on a completely unrelated site. We want to make sure that we serve your users something that they are interested in seeing at the right time. And what we've seen with dynamic marketing is that we can generate a 450% higher CTR than static remarketing, which is a great indication as to how relevant and how precise these messages are. Netshoes is one of our customers that's done a great job leveraging dynamic remarketing. So they are based out of Brazil in Sao Paulo, and they've recently started using dynamic remarketing to really boost revenues. They are one of the largest sporting goods e-retailers in the world. And when they wanted to first expand their display business with Google, they invested in static remarketing. And they had great success with static remarketing, but really wanted to improve efficiency, improve reach, and improve scale. So in 2012, they moved to dynamic remarketing. And this allowed them to double their ROI across their original display campaigns, and then actually grow revenue by about 30 to 40% at the same time. So they were able to achieve scale and reach and efficiency all at the same time. And with that being said, I will throw it over to Ayla to talk a little bit about how we actually bid and how we manage your bids for you to make sure that this is efficient.
Right. So, as Joe said, this is we are looking at a lot of data, a lot of potential customers, a lot of potential viewers, a lot of different places where they are, and we have to make a lot of decisions in real time. So if you think, in the 400 milliseconds between a user coming to a site and AdWords deciding which ad to show them, how do we make the decision what to bid? We just focus on bidding. So what does real-time bidding actually mean? It means we decide every single time we want to serve an impression how much to bid for him. So now let's compare to non-real-time bidding or static bidding. So if you set a max CPC bid, so how much you want to pay for every time somebody clicks. Let's say you set a max CPC of $1. So every single time we think this ad is relevant, we will pay $1 if somebody clicks. Now if you think from a click, there is a lot of different probabilities of actually converting down the line. So Joe, who was searching for a Volkswagen, if we show him later in the day a picture of a Volkswagen in an ad with a telephone number where he can get a little bit more information, he's much more likely to click on that call button than somebody who has never seen a Volkswagen ad before. So there is a huge range in conversion probability. And so if you put a static bid in, a max CPC, you basically say, I will pay $1 for everybody that clicks. And you don't know if they will convert. So there is an inefficiency where, in the case of Joe, you would probably want to pay much more than $1 if he clicks. Because once he clicks, he is super likely to actually convert in terms of calling you, in terms of signing up for more information, in terms of actually making an appointment at the dealer to drive the car, and actually in terms of buying the car down the line. Now with car buying, this is of course a little bit a different story because the time to buy is really long. But if you're thinking about the shoes, the online retailer, some people are much more likely to actually buy the shoe once they click the initial ad than others. So with max CPC, you bid the same for everybody. And so you bid too little for Joe, and you bid far too much for somebody who wouldn't convert. So now if we compare that to what we call real-time bidding, we basically look every single time we are able to serve an impression, we predict the likelihood of this user at that specific site at that time of day in that region to not only click on the ad, but actually convert. And you tell us what you want to pay once somebody converts. And we predict, based on lots of data that we are looking at, for every single time how likely this impression, this user is to actually convert. And then we use that prediction to set your bids. So somebody who is very likely to convert, we will bid more to serve the impression to him, and somebody who's very unlikely, we will bet less, up to 0. And so what you tell us is not how much you want to pay per click. You tell us how much you would like to pay per conversion. Now you define what a conversion is. A conversion for you may be sign up to a newsletter, it may be actually make a call, but it may be, in the case of online retailing, putting something in the cart, and it may be actually buying something. You decide what you define as a conversion. You can define multiple conversion events, and you tell us how much you want to pay, how much this conversion is worth to you, and we'll then figure out how much to pay for that impression, because the impression is only the beginning to get to the conversion. So how does this bidding engine work, right? So basically, we do what you also do manually, typically. What you do manually, if you go into AdWords and you look at your cost per clicks, and you look at these different audience segments that are in the clicks, you think, well, apparently males, in my specific case, maybe males are much more likely to buy my Volkswagen car than females. So I actually want to pay a little bit more on clicks for males. And then if you think about gender, you'll probably say, look, if there are like 35-year-olds, I want to pay much more than if there are 15-year-olds, because the 15-year-olds are never going to buy a car. And then you look at region, etc. So you basically slice and dice the information and you correlate it with what you see on your end in terms of actual conversions, and you basically decide to bid up and down. So we do all of that automatically for you continuously every single time we want to serve an impression. And so we have these 400 milliseconds when somebody has an ad that we can serve, and we decide how much we bid. And we basically look at tons of different variables, all the things that I mentioned in terms of language, locality, recency on list, have they visited your site before or not, all these things. We do a statistical comparison continuously, and there is lots of different machine learning models basically behind the scenes that try to predict what is the trend in this data. And we have different machine learning models, and we're actually having them compete between each other to have the best prediction of conversion likelihood. And we are continuously improving our internal models, obviously. But the bottom line is we use data from you, from others, from hundreds and millions and thousands and billions of auctions to figure out what converts well for you and what not. And we decide to bid up or bid down. And we are really, really good at it. So what you basically get then, if you think back about the audience part, so if you think back about the remarketing case, so remarketing means this is a user who has visited your site, and you have a tag, and you basically tag this user. You tag the cookie, and you tell us, look, this is a cookie I'm interested in because he visited my site. So he's apparently interested in buying something or in converting in some sense. And you ask us to remarket him, show him an ad later again. So what we add on top of this remarketing is the real-time bid. So we differentiate between all those different people that visited your site. So in this example, there might be a businessman who's super likely from various signals to actually convert, and we will pay $10 if this guy clicks on the ad, versus the music teacher that is just kind of looking around, is very unlikely to actually convert, and will only bid 5 cents for this guy. And so if you think about the remarketing lists, what we see many people, of course, do manually is you segment your list by recency, right? So people that visited in the last day, if they have been added to the list a day ago, we want to bid more because they're actually likely to still convert because they're in the mood. And if you visited 7 days ago, by the time the remarketing signal is very weak, we do all of that automatically. We look at recency on list. We look at all these different things that I said, and we bid up and down to basically try to get you your cost per conversion that you asked us. So if this guy actually converts, I want to pay $10. So now let's hand back to Joe and see how do we actually enable this? How do we implement this in the front end?
Thank you, Ale. So how we can actually implement this in the front end, we just talked a lot about how powerful this bidding solution is, but how can you actually set it up in AdWords? Towards the end of last year, we launched a new bid platform and a new bid infrastructure called Flexible Bid Strategies. Flexible because we give you a lot more options, control, and better reporting in the front end. So what this means is that you can now have the power of this real-time bidding algorithm at your fingertips, and it hides over in the shared library. We will take a look at that in a minute. But with the flexibility side of it, the big change here is you're no longer tied to setting up one bid strategy for each campaign. With controls, we're giving you much better control over how we actually bid. So even when you turn over control to us to set your CPC bid, we're still letting you dictate things like how much you're willing to bid for an individual click or how little you're willing to bid. We call those bid limits. And then on the reporting side, as opposed to having to look at reporting on each campaign or each ad group isolated, we'll aggregate reporting over in the shared library and give you a roll-up reporting. So when you apply a bid strategy to multiple campaigns, you can actually see how you're doing across the board, and you don't have to dig through all your campaigns or ad groups to try to figure out how you're performing. So the flexible part of flexible bid strategies, this is what it looked like in the old structure. You would have 3 different campaigns, and on each campaign, you'd have a different type of bid. So you might have shopping cart abandoners, which are the most likely to purchase. They've just been to your site, they've just looked at products, and you want to have as much control as possible over that audience. So you say, I want to bid manually for this audience. That's one campaign, and that whole campaign is locked into this one manual bidding strategy. Then you have a second campaign, which is not quite as probable converting. These are folks that have viewed your product, not quite added it to the cart. And for them, because there's so many of them and it's such a big list, you say, I don't want to manage all this. I will run Conversion Optimizer, what we call Target CPA, on this campaign and try to manage bids at scale and manage bids efficiently. And that's one campaign with one bid strategy. Then you'll have a third campaign for a much broader list called homepage visitors, and you might not be quite as focused on trying to drive conversions. You're more focused on just web traffic, so you have manual bidding. But the limitation here is that you have one bid strategy per campaign. It's a very rigid structure, and it doesn't give you a lot of flexibility on controlling all this. So what we're giving you with flexible bid strategies is the ability to create a strategy, whether it's enhanced CPC or target CPA, and you can create the strategy in the shared library and then apply it to an individual campaign, individual ad groups within that campaign, or multiple ad groups across multiple different campaigns. So we're completely getting rid of that 1-to-1 ratio between strategy and campaign. As an example, if we consider that old setup, with shopping cart abandoners, you can actually have shopping cart abandoners, product viewers, and homepage visitors all in the same campaign and apply different bid strategies to them. So with the shopping cart abandoners ad group, you can have manual bidding through flexible bid strategies. Then you might have a second ad group in there for return buyers, which are also likely to convert. Because there are a lot of them, you want to kind of outsource control of those bids and try to bid efficiently and at scale. So even within that one campaign, you have a second bid strategy, which is target CPA. In your second campaign, you have a couple other ad groups, which are quite similar. And instead of having to have a completely separate bid strategy for that campaign, you can apply CPA to one ad group in that campaign and enhance CPC to the other ad group in that campaign. And that removes that 1-to-1 ratio and gives you a lot of flexibility in how you apply these bid strategies. And I mentioned that these live in the shared library. So you're most likely used to navigating through the campaign section of AdWords, which has the tree structure of all your campaigns and ad groups and display keywords and user lists. This is over in the shared library. We will take a look at implementation a little bit later in the presentation, but shared library lives in the left-hand navigation menu, and when you click in there, you can click into bid strategies, and then it'll give you the option to create your first bid strategy.
So one question I see from the audience here, and by the way, we didn't mention it, I think, explicitly, but please keep the Q&A coming while we present, right? So we'll try to answer them on the fly, and otherwise we'll have some time at the end. So one quick question I see, and it's actually going into the next topic, is can we actually define who we think is important in terms of our customer base? And so yes, not every conversion is equal, right? So and we'll go into details in a second, but we have a way for you to tell us conversion value. So how much you value a particular conversion, and that can be based on, actually the amount that he put in the shopping cart or the actual purchase price, or you can also put your own value. Let's say if you do some offline analysis and you think from your CRM data or whatever that you have a different likelihood of lifetime value, you can give us relative conversion values and say, look, these particular audience segments are twice as valuable to me as the other ones, and we'll optimize for that. And we'll go in much more detail, but it's called target return on ad spend, where you tell us, look, this conversion is worth more than that, and overall I want to have a so and so return on ad spend. So yeah, that is definitely possible.
Thanks for hopping in. So
maybe we can do another quick question, Joe.
Yeah.
On the fly, people are asking, are these Google Analytics remarketing lists or remarketing tag lists?
Very good question. So we'll work with both. You can create remarketing lists on the fly in Google Analytics and import those lists into AdWords. And you can run automated bidding on those lists the same way you would on the remarketing tag-based list. So it's definitely possible to do on both. So we've talked a lot about real-time bid strategies, about automated bid strategies. We've referenced target CPA, but we wanted to give you a quick overview of what you can do right now with real-time bidding. There are 3 primary bid types. There's enhanced CPC, or enhanced cost per click. There's target CPA, which is target cost per acquisition, and then target return on ad spend, which we call target ROAS. eCPC and CPA are quite similar in that they prove the probability of converting. Target ROAS goes a little bit further, and it tries to improve the value of the conversions. So let's take a closer look at each of these. So with enhanced CPC, it modifies your bid at the time of the ad auction to improve your chance of converting. With enhanced CPC, you still control your actual max CPC. So you're going into the AdWords interface, you're setting a maximum cost per click bid and telling us how much you want to pay for a click. And then you're checking a box and saying, but based on my conversion data, I want you to flex or adjust this bid based on what you see in the ad auction. The difference here is that we're sticking within a range of that cost per click. So we'll only bid up to 30% higher than the max CPC that you set, but we may bid all the way down to 0 if we think that auction has no chance of converting for you. And this does require you to have AdWords conversion tracking or to be importing goals from analytics, because we need to learn from the conversion behavior. And again, just to reiterate, you're setting a max cost per click bid, and then we are flexing that bid for you, and we do it within a range. Next, we have target cost per acquisition. Again, this is focused on improving your chance of conversions. So we're looking at all the data in the auctions, and we're bidding more for users who are likely to convert and less for users who are less likely to convert. The main purpose here is really to maximize conversion volume within the CPA goal that you give us. And with target CPA, you're moving away from the notion of setting a max cost per click bid, and you're just telling us how much you want to pay for conversions and setting a target cost per acquisition bid. So instead of saying, I want to pay $1 every time someone clicks my ad, you're going to say, I want to pay $10 every time you drive a conversion. And in terms of actually setting the CPC bid, you're giving control over to us to actually set your CPC bid really anywhere from 0 all the way up to 10 based on the probability of that impression to convert for you. This also does rely on conversion tracking, and typically we want to make sure you have some conversion volume before you turn it on. So as a general rule of thumb, once you have 15 conversions, target CPA is a great way to try to improve conversion volume while maintaining a profitability goal. And lastly, we have our new strategy, which launched towards the end of last year, called Target Return on Ad Spend, or Target ROAS. This goes a step further, and instead of just trying to improve your chance of converting, we try to improve the value of the conversions that you have coming in. We do this by first looking at the conversion tracking data that you supply us, and then if you actually give us order value data, or if you're a lead gen company and you pass us actual values of leads, we'll look at the ad auction and try to learn what types of values come from what types of users and what types of clicks. And then instead of just predicting probability of conversion, we also predict the value of that conversion, and then we scale your CPC bid in the auction to fit that prediction. So someone who is likely to buy a very high-priced item, we're going to bid more for than someone who's going to buy a very low-priced item. And for this, the input is no longer just a target cost per acquisition bid, but a target return on ad spend bid. So you would tell us for every dollar that you invest in AdWords, how many dollars in revenue you want in return, and we'll manage your CPC bid within that target. This also requires conversion tracking or goals imported from analytics, and we also require that you pass values with those. So if you're an e-commerce client, it would be passing us order values, cart values, And if you're a lead generation client, it would be passing us the actual values of leads or of subscriptions or signups.
Before we go into details of how this works, basically, if you're comfortable with us managing your bid in real time, and we do much better than you do manually, by the way, if you're comfortable with that, and if you actually see different conversion values in your audience, so either you have heterogeneous products where you earn much more profit on the one than the other, or you have heterogeneous customers where the one has a much higher lifetime value than the other. If you actually see different returns in terms of people that buy or convert on your site, target ROAS is a very good strategy because we optimize for the high value conversions as opposed to arbitrary conversions. So if you're comfortable with real-time bidding and if you see different values in your customer base, you should use target ROAS. Now let's look into the details.
Yeah. Going a little bit deeper on target ROAS. So like I mentioned, new strategy that lives in flexible bid strategies in the shared library. And we are bidding based on conversion value, just not on probability of conversion. So we're looking, if you think about how we bid with enhanced CPC and with target CPA, we're looking at all the clicks that have converted for you and all the clicks that haven't converted for you and trying to extrapolate patterns from that and bidding based on those patterns. With target ROAS, once you start passing us conversion values or cart values or lead values, we use that to amplify the signals. So instead of just analyzing which clicks convert and which clicks don't convert, we start looking at which clicks drive the most value for your business and which clicks drive the most revenue for your business and which ones don't. And we extrapolate themes from that and try to determine what auctions we want to bid more for because we have a very confident prediction that it's going to drive a lot of value for your business. So who is this actually right for? I think e-commerce clients are a very natural fit for it. Not every conversion is the same. If you are an electronics retailer, for instance, you might sell $10 cables or wires and $2,000 TVs. And the inefficiency of target CPA is we would treat these conversions the same. So we would only look at the probability that this user makes a purchase, and we wouldn't actually look at the value of that purchase. With target ROAS, we look at the value of the purchase, and we try to drive more revenue for the business. So to put a little math behind this, say you are willing to pay $10 for each conversion you get through AdWords. Well, if you have a customer that's buying a package of wires for $5, that is likely not a profitable conversion for you. It is certainly a sale and certainly a conversion, but in the long run, a lot of those are not going to drive a lot of revenue for the business. But if you're only paying $5 for a $2,000 television, that is much more revenue for the business, and we will start learning what types of users purchase larger ticket items and bid more for those users. So the focus is on trying to drive increases in order value. Even if you're not an e-commerce client, if you're a client that focuses on generating leads or signing up for subscriptions, this is still a great fit. Not every lead is the same. I think a really good example of this would be if you are trying to get users to subscribe online. You might have different types of subscriptions. A 1-month subscription might only be $5, whereas a 1-year subscription is $50. And it's in your best interest to try to drive users to sign up for longer. And right now with CPA, you're really bidding the same for each type of subscription, even though one might be worth more than the other. Another great example is car insurance. There are different types of car insurance, basic coverage, premium coverage, and each one carries a different price point for your business or different revenue. And with ROAS, you can tell us what type of insurance is worth more to you, and we will bid more for users that are likely to purchase that type of insurance. And lastly, for dynamic remarketing, we actually incorporate additional data into our prediction. If you have a Google Merchant Center account, which is required for dynamic remarketing, you're passing us data from Merchant Center around what types of products, what the product prices are, and we are looking at the range of product prices and the average product prices and using that to inform the prediction. So going back to that initial example of Volkswagen trying to serve the right ad at the right time, with dynamic marketing, we're not just bidding based on the probability of conversion, but we're bidding based on the types of products that that user might be interested in and really trying to get as specific as possible with our bids.
So Joe, a couple of quick questions, I think, from the audience. They seem very interested, so a couple of implementation questions.
Sure.
We said for target ROAS, return on ad spends, we need 30 conversions per month. People say, is it per campaign or per ad group?
That is a very good question, especially with flexible bid strategies. So You can get started with target ROAS as early as possible. 15 conversions tends to be a point where we have enough data to bid intelligently. 30 is a great starting point. With ROAS, you can get started at any point. So you can create target ROAS in the shared library and apply it to any campaign or ad group. That is up to you. But the more data that we have, the more conversion data that we have, the better our predictions will be. So if you're a little hesitant to get started on real-time bidding or on target ROAS, wait until you have 15 conversions in the last 30 days or 30 conversions in the last 30 days, create the bid strategy in the shared library, and then apply it to any campaign or ad group. And that gives us enough data to bid intelligently.
One other question, for example, people are asking, can we give you, we are predicting conversion, can we give you seasonal data? Because, some day and some weeks and some months work better than others. So the short answer is we actually look at season or time of day, week of day of week, etc. You can't actually right now give us seasonal data. We understand what you can't give us right now, but we are actually looking at those signals as well. One other question, Joe, can we apply a combination of multiple bid strategies in one single campaign?
To the question, yes, absolutely. So if you have 10 ad groups in one campaign, you can have 2 ad groups on target ROAS, 3 ad groups on target CPA, and 5 ad groups on enhanced CPC. So you can have multiple different bid strategies within one campaign. And just to the point of seasonality, so when we think about seasonality with bidding, there are 2 types of seasonality. We classify it in 2 different ways. There's a slow ramp up to a season. So I think the holiday season in the US is a great example where typically sales and conversion rates will slowly rise over the course of a couple weeks. And that's kind of a slow build up to seasonality. And conversely, there's also a flash sale. So you might be running a sale on the website where you're trying to drive as many conversions as possible in one day. And that is a spike in conversion volume and a spike in conversion rate. We learned fast enough that for the first type of seasonality, we can manage that effectively. We are constantly updating our bids and learning multiple times per day. So if it is a slow change in conversion rate or order value over the course of a few days or a couple weeks, we will absolutely bid for you. If it is a flash sale, it's a lot harder for us. So if you have one day every year that you triple your conversion rate or triple your order value, we don't do a great job of that right now. But it's something we're certainly working on.
And you can just increase your bids for that particular day.
Yes, absolutely.
Joe, a couple of more questions. I mean, they're coming. Let's answer them. Mobile. People say, how about cross-device conversions? Are we taking them into account in all this optimization?
That's a really good question. So we are getting much better with mobile. This year are trying to get much more intelligent about bidding on mobile. And right now in AdWords, recently we started introducing new types of mobile conversions. There's estimated cross-device conversions, and then we have things like call conversions, all sorts of new conversion types that are focused on mobile. We are working on integrating those into how we bid. So we are getting there. We don't do a perfect job yet, but we hope to get there very shortly.
Let's do one more question and then continue with the discussion. People ask, can I do dynamic remarketing if I don't have a merchant account, Google Merchant Center, or I don't have a Merchant Center feed?
Also a very good question. So right now, dynamic remarketing requires that second set of data. So for retail clients, it is the Google Merchant Center feed. We're working on solutions for all types of advertisers, so we hope to have dynamic remarketing available based on other types of data. That being said, if you can certainly get as specific as possible with your creatives and remarketing if you do a lot of segmentation. But right now, that super powerful dynamic remarketing option for retail requires a second layer of data. And right now, that's the Merchant Center. And we're working on more options down the road. All right, moving down the road. So why do we care about this? We've been running target CPA for quite a long time. And target ROAS is fairly new to us, but we are seeing that it has a substantial impact on your campaigns. So for clients running remarketing campaigns, when they transition from max CPC bidding, manual bidding, to target CPA bidding, we're able to drive more conversions and actually a 14% decrease in their CPA. So an improvement in CPA, a decrease. So we're driving more conversions for you, and you're paying less for those conversions. When those same clients move from target CPA bidding to target ROAS bidding, we keep conversion volume and traffic fairly constant, but we improve ROI by 9%. We improve return on ad spend by 9%. What this means is that we're driving the same volume of conversions, but the value of those conversions is going up. So we're giving you much better bang for your buck. And then lastly, this dynamic remarketing solution, because we're integrating additional data signals and we're really trying to get our bidder to work on a product level, we drive a huge boost in ROI, where we're actually seeing a 40% lift in ROI on dynamic marketing campaigns when they move to target ROAS. So not only is this going to help you manage bids efficiently across your campaigns, but also is going to drive better profitability for you, regardless of whether you go CPA or ROAS.
And one clarification, this chart adds up, right? So this looks confusing, but these are actually additional on top of each other. They're incremental. And the bottom line is we are really good at real-time bidding. We do really much better than you generally do manually. And the more you give us, the more information you give us. So with CPA bidding, you tell us how much your average conversion is worth, which with ROAS, you're telling us how much your specific conversion is worth. And with ROAS and dynamic remarketing, you're telling us how much this specific conversion is worth relative to a particular product or product group that the customer has viewed. The more you give us, the better we do. And we return you more money, basically. We get you more conversions at less cost.
So just an example of how this has worked. So eBags has been an AdWords advertiser for quite a while. They are a US-based company that focuses in selling bags and accessories online. And they started looking for remarketing as an audience solution and tried to really supercharge that remarketing. So they started off a long time ago on manual CPC bidding and then moved to target CPA bidding, but actually outsourced that to a third party to manage their CPA bids. And when target ROAS became available, they wanted to try to find a way to improve their efficiency, move bidding to more of an in-house operation, and try to boost ROI. So what they're able to do is improve revenue on dynamic marketing with real-time bidding by 10 to 15%. And they saw a 25% increase in efficiency where they were just spending much less time managing bids and looking over bids. They just set a target ROAS target and let us manage it for them, and it boosted revenue while also saving them a lot of time. So getting started, this is the implementation section. So the first step with target ROAS is you need to share conversion values. Those of you who use enhanced CPC or target CPA right now are sharing just conversions with us, and that can be through conversion tracking or Google Analytics. But with target ROAS, we need another layer of data. We need to know how much that lead is worth for you or how much that purchase actually was for. So sharing values through the conversion tracking pixel or through Google Analytics is definitely a prerequisite for target ROAS. The second step is determining targets. So you need to tell us how much each dollar is worth. So for every dollar that you spend on AdWords, how much do you want in return? Do you want $2 in return, 5, 10? What is your actual ROI target when you advertise with us? And then you need to create the strategy in the shared library, and then you need to assign the strategy to a campaign or to an ad group. And again, sharing conversion values is critical. If you are a lead gen client, we need you to tell us how much each type of lead is worth. And if you're an e-commerce client, you can pass the order value through the conversion tracking pixel. But we definitely need to know which types of conversions are worth more for you so that we can bid for that type of conversion. Because we want to bid for the conversion that's going to bring more revenue to your company.
But the conversion values may be relative. You don't need to tell us how much, let's say, the cart or the sell or the product is worth in dollars. You just need to tell us relatively to each other. The one is twice as high as the other. The easiest way generally to do this for you is you can just share us the actual value, but if you're, for whatever reason you don't want to, you can just give us relative values.
Yep. So a couple of tips and best practices just getting started. So the conversion threshold, we mentioned this, but typically we want to make sure that there is some conversion data in your account before you get started. 30 is just a general rule of thumb, so 30 conversions in the last 30 days, and these should be conversions that have values. So if you go to set up target ROAS today and you start passing us conversion values today, we would recommend waiting a couple weeks, maybe even up to 4 weeks, just to make sure you have enough conversions that have value that we can bid intelligently and we know which clicks are going to drive the most value for you. Second is that when you're setting your first target, we want to make sure that it is a realistic target and it is close to your historical performance. What we mean by that is if you have a remarketing campaign running right now and in the last month, your return on that campaign has been 5 to 1. So you've received $5 in revenue for every dollar you spent. When you set your first target ROAS bid, it should be as close to 5 as possible. What we don't want to have happen is for you to go in and say, I want $10 for every dollar I spend, because what that tells us is that what we've been doing is not good, and we need to find much cheaper conversions for you, and we'll start bidding a lot less. So the best strategy is to set your initial target close to your historical performance, and then change it each week to try to get closer to what your actual target is. So if you're at 5 right now, and you want to get to a point where you're getting $10 in revenue for every dollar you spend, start at 5 today, wait a couple weeks for performance to stabilize, and then raise it to 6. Wait a couple weeks, and then raise it to 7. Hopefully we can get you there. And what you might notice over time is that there is a trade-off between volume, the volume of traffic you can get, and the profitability of that volume. So setting the target close is a great way to start, and then you can explore how much profit you can get at different traffic volumes. Third is when you're actually gauging performance, we want to make sure that you're looking at the right data set. So if you turn on target ROAS today, or even if you turn on target CPA today, don't just wait 24 hours and then decide whether or not it's working. You need to wait a couple weeks to make sure that, first of all, you're looking at all the data, and second of all, you've given our system enough time to adjust. So if you turn on target ROAS tomorrow, give it at least a couple weeks to run, and then start to analyze performance and decide whether or not this is working for you. And lastly, if you do have a lot of campaigns that run on search, you can actually set bid limits where you can tell us a CPC ceiling and a CPC floor, and you can try to keep us within a certain range.
Let's 1 second pause on conversion delay. Joe mentioned it, but I think it's actually quite important to stress that again. So what do we mean by conversion delay, and why should you account for it? So what basically happens is you pay per click. So the auction is happening, we serve the ad, and then somebody clicks. So now you paid. We predict some conversion rate of this click, but we don't know if it happens. We need to wait, and conversions may take, depending on your campaign style, your notion of a conversion. It may happen in the next couple of minutes, in the next couple of hours, or up to a week later. You're able to import to us or tell us conversions up to 90 days later. Because maybe people clicked on the ad, they went away again, came back again, went away again, and then only 90 days down the road they actually converted. So what that means is you already paid for that click. If you right now look at your CPA, it's basically infinite, because I paid for the click, but the guy didn't convert yet. So now tomorrow I'll buy another click on the same guy. So now it's twice infinite, right? Because he still didn't convert. Now if you wait a week and he converts, then you can compute a reasonable CPA. And so let's say we paid $2 for the click in total, and he converted, then we actually paid $2 CPA. So if you know that your conversions generally come up to a week later, because that depends on what you define to be a conversion, you need to basically wait a week before you look at your CPA data. So whenever you evaluate your performance, don't look at the last week. Look at whatever happened until the last week, but discard the most recent week. It's not meaningful because the conversion hasn't happened yet.
It's a really good point. Thank you for sharing that. So implementing this in your account, as I mentioned, it lives in the shared library. So if you are in your AdWords account right now, you have the navigation menu on the left-hand side. You want to click into shared library, and that should give you a list of the different options in the shared library. Likely a lot of you are familiar with audiences, but what we care about is bid strategies. And when you click into bid strategies, it will bring you to this next screen, which if you have strategies set up, you can look at them here. Otherwise, you should have this big green button that says New Bid Strategy. When you click into that, it will give you a menu of all the bid strategies that we have available right now. And we have Enhanced CPC, Target CPA, Target Return on Ad Spend, and then we have a couple others called Maximize Clicks, and one called Target Search Page Location. So you can see here, these are the ones that we have available at the moment. Target Return on Ad Spend is one that we spent a lot of time talking about, is if you do have the ability to pass us conversion values, or order values or lead values, it is a great way to improve efficiency and ROI. And when you go in to create the bid strategy, it will bring you to this screen. You supply a name for the bid strategy, so you can call it ROAS and then whatever bid you're setting. And then it's going to ask you to set the target. And this is a little tricky. We're asking you for a percentage as a target. So if you tell us that you want $2 in return for every dollar you spend, that would be a 200% target. You want a 200% return. This is a little misleading because if you're on the Campaigns tab, the metric that we have in AdWords that actually represents ROAS is called conversion value over cost. and this is reported to you as a decimal number. So if your return in AdWords is 2 to 1, in the campaigns tab, we will report it as 2.0. And here we're asking you for a percentage bid, which would be 200%. So just keep that in mind, and we do have a little note in the UI to give you a heads up on that. And then if you are running these on search, we give you bid limits, so you can tell us how much you're willing to bid for a click or how little you're willing to bid for a click, and we will try to operate within that range. So when you create the strategy, it appears in the library, and you can see it here, new target ROAS bid strategy. And you'll also see that we start actually aggregating reporting. So right now we have 2 bid strategies there, and you'll see that we're telling you how many campaigns you've applied it to, how many ad groups you've applied it to, if it's on search, how many keywords you've applied it to, and then across all those campaigns and ad groups applied to, we will tell you how many clicks and impressions, your CTR, your cost, and we'll also tell you the value over cost or the CPA. So this is a great way to get aggregate reporting. You can apply a 500% target ROAS strategy to 5 campaigns and 50 ad groups, and in one place we'll tell you how we're doing across all of those, whether or not we're within target. When you assign strategies, you go back into the campaigns tab. So we bounce you back to campaigns, and then you would click into an individual campaign or into an ad group, and you can select them with the checkbox on the left-hand side, and you will have a bid strategies pull down just above this menu. And when you click into the bid strategies pull down, it will ask you to choose a strategy. And you can use manual CPC bidding, but you'll see what we've highlighted is choose a bid strategy. And as soon as you select this, it will bring you into all of the bid strategies you created. So you can apply your target ROAS bid strategy or your target CPA bid strategy, whichever one you want to use on this campaign or ad group. And again, I mentioned that aggregated reporting. So as you start building out your strategies and as your account gets a little bigger and a little more complex, we're still trying to give you that ease of reporting where we are aggregating the data across all the campaigns and ad groups that you've applied it to. And we're really trying to simplify this for you. So if you set up a target ROAS strategy of 500%, you can go in here and very quickly see, is your ROI actually close to 500%? Is it above? Is it below? How well are we actually doing? So the questions to walk away with today. The first is, right now, are you taking your site for remarketing? So if you're not doing remarketing, it is an exceptionally powerful tool that we have to reach your audience on the display network or even on the search network through RLSA. 2 is, if you are an e-commerce client, do you have a feed in Google Merchant Center? If you do, you can link that feed to your AdWords account and start exploring dynamic remarketing, which gives you the ability to be exceptionally precise, very accurate, and very efficient. The second question is, are you tracking all types of conversions? So are you tracking leads that are generated, subscriptions? Are you tracking everything that's value to your business? And are you assigning values to these conversions? So if you're an e-commerce client, are you passing us order values? And if you're a lead gen client, are you actually telling us how much each of these conversions are worth every time they occur? And lastly, are you leveraging this data for real-time bidding? Setting max CPC bids is very, very inefficient, takes a lot of time. Using these real-time bid strategies will save you a lot of time and will really supercharge performance. So with that, we wanted to open up to Q&A. We have about 5 to 10 minutes left, and before we hop over to Q&A, one quick note is that we will be sharing a few resources on the Google Plus events page. So if you're not quite sure how to get started or you missed parts of the presentation, we will share resources on what we've talked about today, as well as how to set up flexible bid strategies and how to use remarketing.
Right. Let's go to questions. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes again to think if you have any more questions. We answered most of the open ones. I'll pick the one that's open, but just before that, one other pitch. If you're interested in this, you like this real-time bidding, I think that's really great. You want to try it out. If you want to move up after you have done this real-time bidding, you really like it, and you say, okay, so now my remarketing is working great. I'm doing real-time bidding on top of remarketing, but can I get even more? So we're doing a hangout this Tuesday, coming Tuesday, on automated targeting, which is now, you can target people you're interested in, customers you're interested in, through a remarketing list, through keywords, etc. But we can also automate that for you. In a very similar fashion, we have lots of machine learning models where we basically look at all your conversions and we try to figure out, is there any other places, people, sites we can target to get you more conversions. And that's on top of the real-time bidding, then we can do basically real-time targeting. So tune into that coming Tuesday. There is some AdWords link, search on it, Google+. There is a similar hangout on there. So with having that said, question. Very good question from Ron Clavo there. I'm an e-commerce company, and so can I actually pass you as a conversion value instead of just passing you the order value, the revenue? Can I just actually pass you the profit margin? And yes, you can, and yes, you should, because not all sales are created equal, right? So if you have a $100 sale on which you actually are like almost profit neutral versus a $100 sale that is $80 profit margin, yeah, you do want to share that differently with us. So that's up to you, and that's why I said previously the conversion values that you give us may be relative. We treat them basically as relative, so we optimize them against each other. It's up to you to decide what a conversion is worth to you. And so yeah, you can definitely share profit margins. And as Joe said, a conversion doesn't need to be a sell. So you can also value conversions if you think in terms of the funnel, from a consideration to a deeper reconsideration, to an initial purchase, to a repurchase, to a loyalty visit. You can assign conversion values to all of those. And even a return, a loyalty, a service, you can assign conversion values to all of those. And so you don't need to only take a conversion to be a purchase. It's up to you, and you can value them if you're able to value them, and we will optimize for that.
One quick note on passing margin data. So yes, absolutely. One note would just be, if you do want to pass margin data and you are an e-commerce client, just make sure that it's consistent. So if you are sending us your Merchant Center feed and you want to actually start bidding based on margins, make sure that you update your Merchant Center feed to include margin data as well. That way, when we learn from the product prices, we're actually also looking at margins, and we can bid effectively across the board.
So Joe, one question: how does view-through view-through acquisitions work here?
That is a great question. So right now in Target CPA and Target ROAS, as well as Enhanced CPC, we don't actually look at view-through data. So right now, all we're considering are click
Maybe
conversions.
Explain to people for 1 second that maybe not everybody knows what view-through conversion is.
Good point. Good point. So there are two types of conversions you can get on AdWords. There is a click conversion, which means that someone saw your ad, they clicked on it, and within 30 days or whatever your window is, they actually came through and converted. And we call that a click conversion. There's this other notion of a view-through conversion, which is very specific to display. So someone can see your ad on the display network. So I might see a Volkswagen ad somewhere on the Google Display Network, but I don't click that ad. I've seen it, but I don't click it. And then a couple days later, I remember seeing that Volkswagen ad, and I go to Volkswagen site, and I end up making a purchase. That is considered a view-through conversion because it's an impression-based conversion, meaning that I saw the ad, I didn't click, and I converted. And it is a great way to measure the brand impact or the indirect impact of your display campaigns. They don't always drive click conversions. A lot of times they influence your audience to take other actions or to come back later, and that's called a view-through conversion. So right now we only bid based on click conversions, but we are certainly trying to get more intelligent with how we bid and offer different types of attribution-based bidding, and we would love to get to the point where we do give you some way to use view-through conversions. But right now we only look at click conversions.
So we have one open question. I don't personally actually understand this question, so let's see, Joe, if you understand, otherwise I will ask Nick. This comes from you to just clarify the question quickly. Do demographic targets follow the same format as remarketing lists in terms of the flexible strategies?
So I can try to clarify the question. So demographic targets, you can bid on demographic targets the same way you would with remarketing. So if you have demographic targets in your display campaign, you can apply a flexible bid strategy to any campaign or ad group that's targeting different demographics. Though it's fairly similar to remarketing, I don't know that there are individual differences between applying a bid strategy to a remarketing campaign versus a demo campaign. It will work just the same.
Okay.
All right.
Well, with that, unless we have any new questions.
All right. If there are no other questions, thank you very much for joining us today. We definitely appreciate you taking the time to join us, and we hope you found this helpful. Like I said, we will be posting resources on the Google Plus events page, so you can definitely check back. You can grab a few resources. You can grab the recording, share it with whoever you think might find it valuable. And we will also ask you to fill out a feedback survey. We are always trying to make these better. We want to make sure that they are useful for you. Please do take a chance to fill out that survey, and one lucky participant hopefully will win a Nexus 7.
And I see, just to close off, Nick, you posted a follow-up question. I'll follow up with you offline because I'm still not sure I understand the question perfectly, but we'll answer you offline.
All right. Thanks so much. Hope you have a great day.